Alright guys, I'm just here to make a short clip today. Sort of Mercury talking about discussing the phenomenon which is known as photodissociation. And when we talk about things like spiritual healing or people that claim to have spiritual powers or divine influence, performing acts such as healing or revitalization, and acts of this process of rebirth taking place. We're talking about the concept that, well, first maybe I'll start with actually what photodissociation is. It's where water is broken down from H2O into H2 and oxygen. And when this happens, when the bonds are broken between the hydrogen and the oxygen, it's a result of UV radiation, or ultraviolet radiation, otherwise known as sunlight. And this process that occurs in the atmosphere can take place within us as well. But the overall basis is that it is the breaking down of a substance as a result of it being exposed to light. So when we talk about this concept of transmutation, we're indirectly referring to the same phenomenon in which something is transformed or eroded or taken from one form and made into another. That's what transmutation is. Or almost this alchemical transformation that's going on, right? And the reason why it can occur is because sunlight or some form of photons are present, whether that's photons that are generated by the sun, by you being receptive to it through your third eye or through intuition or calling in some higher guidance. Those are all forms of light. So essentially the basis of this is that when people talk about, well, spiritual healing, it sounds like mumbo jumbo, where does it come from? This is where it comes from. It comes from a phenomenon that is based around stuff that we already have present in our surroundings. This process is going on all the time in the atmosphere. The only difference is that, when it happens to human beings, we're conditioned to believe, okay, well, science has told us everything that's true and not true, and, made certain that everything is confirmed. Yeah, they do confirm things, but they also leave a lot of things unconfirmed on purpose. So if you're not going to dig around on your own to kind of find those answers, including how these phenomenons work that are already present all around us, then you're not going to connect the dots, right? In any case, the point is that phenomenons like these are not unheard of, and they do exist in science, but to make the comparison or make the contrast, or rather the parallel in these cases, where one situation that involves molecules that exist within us is taking place actually inside the body as opposed to in a medium like the air, is crucial for you actually attaining that state of which you want, whether it's spiritual enlightenment or reaching some kind of higher vibrational level where you can manifest, or performing some feat of healing, whether that's to yourself or to somebody else. It's all necessary that you have an understanding and an awareness that is able to see the picture translate between these circumstances. Because if you don't, it probably means that you're not at the level of awareness yet in which you can actually perform those feats. Because seeing and having a conceptualization about how these things can overlap, whether it's through looking at it from a scientific perspective or from a very metaphysical, spiritual perspective, is imperative to actually get this viewpoint that you need to actually implement the changes that you want. So that's pretty much the basis of what I have for you today. I just have some tea here. It's a nice sunny day outside. I actually didn't expect to film this video, but I figured, I'm outside, got my iced tea here, and when I say iced tea, I don't mean like the garbage that you buy from the grocery store. I mean tea with ice. So iced tea, not iced tea. Anyway, that's what I have for you today, is the Prince of Mercury. I would recommend to you, if you are in the process of facilitating, implementing some form of change or modality into your practice to bring about any of those changes before I mentioned, manifestation, whatever it is, get some sunlight, something pretty that we think is sometimes pretty elementary, but just attempt to understand what might be going on in the presence of that force, right? Like, there are forces all around us, but the reason why we can't tap into them sometimes is because we're not conscious of how they can influence us, right? I think that your ability to utilize your, if you want to say, powers or practices or abilities can only go as far as your imagination can go. So if you can't picture it, or if it seems not possible to you, then you're not going to be able to implement it in its fullest sense, right? So even if you want to use science as a foundation, look at what they say about vitamin D or vitamin D3 or whichever version it is that is actually the form of sunlight. They say it's actually not a vitamin, but it is a steroid hormone which is responsible for hundreds of genes being expressed in the body. So, and gene expression in epigenetics, those epigenetic switches that toggle on and off, can express various parts of your DNA and will determine, what your hair color will be, what your eye color will be, what parts of your genome get expressed and which don't. So if you can influence that, then that is a crucial point to be at. So in any case, you don't have to be able to do any of those extreme feats, but the ability to regulate your blood pressure, slow your breathing, relax your body, calm your mind, those all facilitate things like the nervous system and all the systems in the body, respiratory system, circulatory system, all of those functioning properly, right? They all connect to each other. So it's like one big stream, right? And if you have enough energy or have enough power, it'll undam itself, right? So interesting, undam. So maybe that's what it means when they say you're damned or whatever, because there's a block in the energy flow, there's a block in the river somewhere, right? But if you're undammed, then there's no block in the flow. In any case, that's what I have for you today. Brought to you, of course, always by the Prince of Mercury. So I hope you enjoyed today's little video on photodissociation and how that relates to our practice of utilizing light or sunlight to heal. So if you enjoyed this, I encourage you to like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. If you like some of these videos that you see here, especially with me talking about these deep concepts, if you want to see a longer format, I encourage you to check out my channel Moonstruck. That can be found in the description below this video. It's podcast format, longer version. Any case, I encourage you to like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed it. Check out some of the ASMR content while you're going to sleep if you want some informative, relaxing content as you drift off. And I'll see you there. Cheers.